What's up guys, my name is Tom, welcome back to another video. Here back to my F1 2019 career mode episode 39, and today is time for the Japanese Grand Prix. If you haven't watched this episode, I highly recommend you to go check it out. But to hero upgrade, the final variability upgrade of this career mode, because I don't think we need any more variability. I think we are pretty decent, but these two hero upgrades are really come in handy. These two major ones, especially in Sector 1. Is the performance chart will waltz away massively over Racing Point and McLaren and Williams, I believe, giving a nice jump in the performance chart. So things are going really good for us, and Mercedes now is the slowest car, remains to be the slowest car, and now the distance over the Silver Hours and the Renault is even bigger. But we have some drivers transfers. I don't know if you saw, but Alexander Albon is going to Mercedes, back in my career mode after being fired by Toro Rosso, and Bottas is going back to Williams, like in these 2013 times, where it was the team that he actually debuted in real life. So it's quite a bit poetic to see Bottas back in the Williams, and Robert Kubica has been dropped down of Formula 1. So this is going to be the last drivers transfers on my career mode. So without further ado, let's go to qualifying and see if we can give our best and make a Red Bull 1-2, because this is on this home Grand Prix, is our engine supplier Grand Prix. So I really want to give a nice performance during this weekend. So without further ado, let's go to qualifying.
Welcome to the only figure-of-8 track on the F1 calendar. We're here at Suzuka for qualifying today ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction. And over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong. And that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
I think you're noticing now for the first time we have a new livery. I basically just brought back the white to the Red Bull, because many people liked the white livery on the Monaco Grand Prix, and then switched to some Japanese sponsors. It was just a translation, so it was a very simple job, but I think it looks pretty decent for this weekend. And here we are in Q1, Hamilton with a provisional fastest time, and the pace has been I think we're not in the pace to be the fastest, at least in qualifying, but I think in the race we can pull something through. So I think the pole position can be out of the equation in qualifying, and Verstappen going fastest, and we were 1.2 seconds slower than our teammate. But this is early stages of qualifying. I believe they're not going to be these down the order, but pace has been a bit shaky over the course of this weekend. So I think we have some job to do as we step a little bit on the grass, so close to put our qualifying to an early end, and we missed a little bit the apex in this fast right-hander. I absolutely love to make that corner if you get it right, as we'll have a massive tank slapper out of the last corner thanks to that bump, that hideous bump of the Suzuka circuit. And we skip forward till the end. We're going to see that Verstappen is out of Q2, so this is a shock news, because this is going to be much easier to outscore Verstappen in this race and help us in the championship tally. But yeah, now it's me carrying the flag in the top 10 shootout for Red Bull, so we have some job to do. And let's see if we can get pole position. It's going to be really hard. The Racing Points have been looking really good over the course of practice, and they are really good in the chassis. So we have, like I said, some work to do. Daniel Kvyat now, the Haas is pretty decent in these later stages of Season 2. We're going fastest by 2/10 over the Haas, so no big deal, but we have to get worried with the Racing Points and maybe the Toro Rossos of Pierre Gasly that now is in provisional pole position. So that is a bit of a shocker, as one of the Racing Points across the line, as you can see in the minimap, but Gasly is still ahead, and now is our time to cross the line. It is a 129.2, 128.2 I should say, and it is enough to put us P3. But then we skip forward to our second run, and we are down in P6 with Ricardo now at the moment in pole position, and we are behind Kevin Magnussen, so behind 2 Racing Points. This is not very good news, but like I said, the pace has not been really good, despite the car being good, especially in the aero side of things and in the engine. But I think the chassis, we are still struggling a little bit, but in general we are the best car. So it was a very weird weekend. I think I wasn't on the pace. Maybe Verstappen was faster than me over the practice, so yeah, it was just me that I wasn't driving maybe that well. But now talking about our second lap, we are 2/10 up, as we don't have a pretty good exit through Spoon, and now he's just straight, and then we go through 130i, which is flat out. We're losing time with just 1 tenth up, so it's not going to be enough to put us in pole position, and we are separated by less than a 10 between me and Ricardo. So it's in the last second. Now we're locked up, missed the first apex, and that is going to cost us a bit of time, but then we have a pretty decent traction, and it's going to be enough at the moment to put us in P5, and we skip forward till the end of the section. And yeah, it is P8 at the end of qualifying, 1 second off of pole time of Daniel Ricciardo, followed by Gasly that was outscored by 3 tenths a second. Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari in P3, so that was pretty impressive, because Ferrari has been way down the order, so it's good to see the prancing horse. But yeah, I wasn't on pace in this qualifying, so let's now go to Sunday and see if we can pull something through. Generally in the race I'm with a better pace, so maybe we can still score a podium, at least the top 5. So we have some work to do if we want to make on the proud in this race, so it's time for the Japanese Grand Prix.
And a very warm welcome to the Japanese Grand Prix, an event that has decided a Drivers' Championship 11 times over the years and has hosted some very memorable races as well. Who can forget Kimi Raikkonen's win from 17th on the grid in 2005, or Kamui Kobayashi's incredible drive to a podium in 2012. A lap of this historic racetrack covers 3.6 miles, and it's the only time during the season that we race on a figure-of-8 racetrack. The drivers can expect some intense G-forces through the 18 corners on offer here, as they experience some of the highest average apex speeds on the Formula One calendar. And keep an eye out for overtakes going into the final chicane. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix, and we're just discussing the new driver lineup. Now, I want to talk to you about Valtteri Bottas. They've just moved to Williams. How do you think they'll get on?
Well, as a driver, whenever you move teams, you want to end up in a faster and more competitive car. So I think they'll be very pleased with their new home. On the other hand, moving to a larger, more successful team brings with it additional pressures and higher expectations. So we'll have to wait and see how well they cope with that.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position today, and it's Pierre Gasly in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Weber, Kevin Magnussen, and Leclerc, Fiat, Thomas, Butler, and Lando Norris, Hamilton, Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Raikkonen, Grosjean, Albon, Nico Hülkenberg, and Valtteri Bottas. Stroll and Max Verstappen completes the grid, and with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
Thanks, Jeffrey, and welcome, guys, to the Japanese Grand Prix. We have Verstappen starting in last place, so it's going to be a challenge race, a very challenging race for him. And if he wants to make Honda proud, he's going to have to make the move, basically. But here we go on this engine Grand Prix. We have the two Toros ahead of us, so maybe they are going to carry on the slack and five red lights in the way we go. And it's actually a pretty decent start. We didn't lose that much time against Kvyat and Charles Leclerc. As we go into turn 1, we have Devon Butler around the outside. On the outside of us, we're going to try to hold on the inside line, as we have Leclerc and Kvyat still side by side, and we managed to hold Butler, but he finds the traction on the inside. We locked up a little bit, and that is going to result us to go wide and squeeze Butler. And now Norris gets ahead of our former F2 rival, and that gives us a little bit of a breathing space, as these two are still going side by side. We're going to try to go on the side of Kvyat. He really closes the door, gets his elbows out, but we really force our way. That could end up in tears, but we managed to go around the outside and through the fast right-hander, and that is us into P7 of this Japanese Grand Prix. So that being a little bit frosty with Kvyat, but now we have to press on, because I think we can get a good, a good result. And Verstappen still in last place, trying to chase down the Renault of Lance Stroll. The two Renault drivers didn't score any points so far this season, so they've been really struggling, but so it should be a piece of cake overtaking the Renault of the Canadian, as Verstappen tries to go around the outside, but it's very hard through Spoon. So Verstappen is going to be quite a challenge, because this is not the best track to overtake. He has some straights, but there's a lot of the part of the track as we're going on the inside through 130 with Charles Leclerc. We squeeze him very aggressively, so apologies for my aggressiveness during this race, but yeah, we have to be, like Japanese say, we have to be kamikaze with this move, because we have a job to do. We have to try to at least get a podium on this race, and I think we have the pace to that, as Magnussen trying to go around the outside of Lucas. Brilliant stuff between these two guys, as the race as the racing point is now is really good in the sector 1, but Weber holds the inside line as they are still side by side through the session. This is brilliant stuff between the AI, and at the moment it is Ricciardo that leads, followed by Sebastian Vettel, and Gasly was overtaken by the Ferrari maybe in the first 2 laps, and look at the Red Bull behind these two, that is ourselves. So we are getting closer and closer to these guys, and this is what I want, because I think I can stick with them if I stick in their slipstream, and here we can make the moves. And yeah, generally I'm fast. I always feel faster when I'm behind the car, because I use them as a reference point. So I don't know if this makes sense, but I don't know. I feel always faster when I'm behind some car, but we are already in the slipstream of the Dan, and he's going to try on the inside of Lucas. It's going to be a free wide as we're going into 1-foot. Yeah, this is brilliant stuff, and we're going on the inside just of We have to live the fight for another day with Magnus, and that would be a crash certainly, so I had to back off, but in the process we managed to overtake at least 1 car, and that's us into P5. So in these early stages of this first stint, things are going really good. We have some DRS, but I think it's not going to be enough. But look at the slipstream power of this game, of this Honda engine. We are really good in the straight line. We are the best engine at the moment, so it's good to see the progress we've been making. So Verstappen already cleared the Stroll. Now he's going to try to go around the outside of one of the Williams. I believe it is of Valtteri Bottas in his first day with Williams, so he's not being a very good first race in his return to Williams. And there he is, Verstappen on the inside, and he continues his charge of this Japanese Grand Prix. He tried to get at least some points, some good points to his championship tally, as now Charles Leclerc tried to go around the outside through the chicane, and Weber managed to defend. So Weber is losing some pace in these early stages of the race, so maybe it was just qualifying a good day for the Toro Rosso, because at the moment they seem to be losing some pace, at least in this set of soft tires in these first laps, as Ricciardo is for the race lead. Sebastian Vettel tried to get the race lead of Daniel Ricciardo, tried to hold on inside around the outside through the first corner, and Ricciardo managed to get the traction as they're going once again still side by side. The AI really likes to go side by side as Vettel sticks the nose in, and Ricciardo now takes the inside line, but this is now in Vettel's turn, and Ricciardo's going to do, he's managed to hold around the outside. What a brilliant stuff by Daniel Ricciardo. He managed to maintain the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix with a brilliant defending move over Sebastian Vettel, as we lost massively in the last corner. That bump on the last corner over the Suzuka circuit is an absolute nightmare, trust me. If you don't play F1 games, I think it's not going to be the bump in F1 2020, so thank God for that. But there's a huge scrap, as you can see, between Gasly and Vettel. So Vettel lost touch with Ricciardo. So Ricciardo is waltzing away, broke the DRS window, and now Vettel is finding himself vulnerable to these guys, because he doesn't have to DRS to defend, as he's still side by side with Gasly, and we're going to have a brilliant momentum through the long left hand, and it's going to allow us to find ourselves side by side with Magnus, and we try to get a move on Vettel, but he managed to cover his line. He closes the door, and at least we overtook Magnus. So progress has been slow, I think slow, but very steady, very clean. Forget that moment, with Leclerc, that was absolutely disgusting. But I'm really happy with the pace. We can maybe be in the podium of the Japanese Grand Prix, the Honda home race. At the moment there is a Honda power car that is vulnerable at the moment, but he's still in the podium. He locks up Gasly. Well, Gasly locks up. We're going to try to go around the outside of Vettel. We're going to skip. We spin around. Vettel tagged us, and this is us spinning round in this Japanese Grand Prix. This is an absolute disaster, and I'm going to pit in this lap already to not lose any time and try to get some clear air after the pit stop. But this is really bad news for us, because Vettel touched us. We made contact and we spun around. We were sent into the gravel trap, so we're going to dress a brand new set on medium tires. So thankfully there's no front wing damage, because it was just a slight touch on the rear wheel, but we're going to see the replay of that. But that was, I believe that is Vettel's fault, because I didn't have any room to give to Vettel, because I was so close to the curb, and if I gone a little bit to the curb, I think I would have lost the battle to Vettel. But there he is. I think he tagged us, and then yes, going onto the gravel. So oh man, I have to see Vettel's POV. So there he is. He's trying to go around the outside of Gasly that locked up, and fair enough. And here he turned a little bit into the right. So I don't know what is in Sebastian Vettel's head in this moment. But look, at this moment he's turning right, and I couldn't give any more space. And I tried to go around outside like any other driver would do, because he lost time with Gasly. These things happen, so it's kind of a racing incident. But here is 100% his fault. and yeah, Vettel ruins our race. So we're watching his third-person camera, so lost all the momentum with Gasly. But then he turned, and yeah, I think he doesn't have any damage, which is very unfortunate. I would like to see some karma, and we skip full on lap 10. Gasly, Kvyat already pit, and look, he's ahead of us. So just to see, and he fitted the hard tire, so Haas thinks that they can bring the medium tires till the end of the race, which is very weird because the tire wear is not that high in these Season 2 cars. So that was very interesting to see, to say the least. But now we find ourselves side by side. We lost enough time with enough means enough with the Haas of Daniel Kvyat, and we go on his side very easily, just to see the tire difference between me and the Haas, and that's us into P18. And I really want to see where we're going to find ourselves as everyone makes his mandatory, not mandatory because we're not in F2, as he stops, and we are already up into P16. And look how far Lucas Weber is. Oh man, are you kidding me? We are so far from these guys. Antonio Giovinazzi is out of the race, so a DNF from McLaren, and we have a virtual safety car. And this is going to come in handy from some guys that are repeating this lap, because we are very far from them as we're going purple in the second sector. So the pace in the early pace on these medium tires has been pretty decent as we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and everyone made their stops, and we are at the moment in P11. Are you kidding me? We are behind Magnussen, not that far, so Magnussen lost some time. Oh man, are you kidding me? Vettel. I want to call so many names to Sebastian Vettel at the moment, but I can't because this is YouTube. But yeah, Vettel also actually lost some time in the pit stop phase. I think he was held up by one of the racing points. So yeah, that's a little bit of karma, but he's still ahead of us, and I want to finish ahead of Vettel just to slap in the face. It will be a slap in the face, but yeah, we have to suck up the pain. I think Verstappen is ahead of us, so we jumped a lot of people in the stopping phases. So he's doing a pretty decent job at the moment. I think he's ahead of I think it is in P6 at the moment. I'm not entirely sure as we go on the inside of Kevin Magnussen through the fast, I should say, right-hander, and that's us into the points of this race. And ahead of us is Hamilton and the other McLaren of Lando Norris. And we have some side-by-side action. I think it's Norris side-by-side with Verstappen. I saw front-wing bits going off to the track, and I believe it's Norris because he's starting to getting further and further from Verstappen. And look how close we are now to Hamilton and Norris, because Hamilton can't overtake Norris. So I'm going to do this, Hamilton, you can't. I'm going to overtake you around the outside. Brilliant stuff. We are much stronger than the Mercedes. Mercedes was a really good car in the early stages of Season 2, but now he's the worst car. So just to see how things go by in this Season 2. So it's been a crazy season, but look how slow Norris it is. He's holding up us so much because of the dirty air. Really, Norris, please get out of the way, mate, as we're going to try to make a massive dive on the happen. Sorry, Jesus, I can't talk this race. I'm still a little bit mad about Sebastian Vettel, but now we're going to have the slipstream, and this should be a piece of cake. His left-hand plate, as you can see, is missing, so he's going to fall down in these later stages of the Grand Prix. So that was very unfortunate, but I don't have the replay, unfortunately, of Verstappen. Talking about Verstappen, there he is overtaking Vettel. The other Red Bull should be overtaking this man because he really wants, but there he is, Verstappen, and this man is on the charge and he's up into P5, I believe. So Verstappen really can get a podium because his pace has been absolutely biblical. Talking about the race lead, this is Pierre Gasly trying to go around the outside. Brilliant move, is going to be brilliant, and Ricciardo loses the rear of his racing point, but Gasly, Ricciardo tries to take a look, but he steps on the grass, and Gasly takes the lead of the Grand Prix in great fashion with a brilliant move around the outside like Magnussen did on Physical in 2005, and now Gasly gets under pressure of Ricciardo, and he locks up and loses the lead. So he didn't lose much time. He's already close to his gearbox, and he's going to take about a lap. In the next lap, he's going to try to go around that side once again, and can he make the move? It's going to be a brilliant move as he gets the lead of the race. It's a copycat move of 2 laps ago, and he gets the lead once again of the Japanese Grand Prix. So he's at a Wonder Power car with a Toro Rosso in the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix. You can see Verstappen in the pace, but now we have some team radio. Good news, spoiler alert.
Max is really pushing hard now. He's just put in the fastest lap of the race. We're trailing our teammate by 5.7 seconds. Some information on Vettel. They seem to have an issue.
Well, okay, this is good news for us. Like I said, spoiler alert. Vettel with some problems. Look, we skip forward on to lap 20, and we are ready. So it seems that we're going to finish ahead of the German, and we're going to give him a slap on the face. So some karma coming to play, thank God. And look, Verstappen now is really close to the other Toros of Weber. Vettel really closes the door. What is happening with this man today? Really moved on the braking, I believe. and we rubbed a little bit to wheels, but finally we cleared him. And this is Verstappen, like I said, he's going to overtake Lucas Weber. We already cleared Butler and Weber, and this is for second place. So Verstappen as he race lead on his side, as Gasly locks up a little bit once again. So Gasly is feeling the pressure. Maybe the tire wear is starting to kick in to the Toro Rosso's lead for the French, and Gasly and Verstappen is really on the pace. And look, he's taking the lead. Remember that this man started in last place. It would be so good to win this race, especially in the Honda's home race. And there he is slipstream, and he's going to try to pull around the outside through a spoon. This is for the race lead. Jesus, I can't talk. And he's going to all around the outside of Dan and Ricardo. Ricardo sticks and nose in as they are still side by side. So I think it's going to be maybe side by side action through 130. No, because Verstappen gets a really good traction around the outside, and he takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix. So Verstappen is about to win this race, I believe, but maybe the Racing Point is going to have a word to say, because he's really good on the straight line, and he's really close to the gearbox of the Dutch, and maybe the Toro Rosso of Gasly can be in the equation, because he's not that far. And as they go through the start-finish straight, as the Racing Point opens the DRS, so this is going to be really close. We can see very awkward camera shots at this stage when Verstappen, we see that he's holding the inside line, and Ricardo tries to go around the outside, but Verstappen has the better aero, has the better car, and they are still side by side through the S session. This is insane battle between the AI, and they are still side by side with Gasly with the previous view. Verstappen gets the nose in, and he takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix after starting in last place. So brilliant stuff by our teammate, and that he takes the lead in great fashion with a great race. And there he is in the last lap through the final chicane, and this is going to be the win for Max Verstappen. He really needs the championship, despite the championship being with 100 on trophy for us. And there he is, he wins the Japanese Grand Prix after starting in last place. So brilliant stuff by Verstappen. I'm really happy for him. That was a bonkers of a race, and maybe it couldn't be the race win for us because we were ahead of him, and the pace was really good for the Red Bulls in these later stages of the Grand Prix. So maybe if it was a Sebastian Vettel, maybe we could have won this race, but I think we made a good comeback, a nice comeback, but really happy with Verstappen. So it was a very positive day for Honda, double positive day, because the Toro Rosso of Gasly crossed the line in P3, so it's going to be a double podium for the Japanese supplier. And at the end of the day, I think it was a pretty nice day for Honda.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it's fantastic to watch, isn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
What a race it's been, with Verstappen winning the race plus the fastest lap after starting in last place after 20 place grid penalty, I should say. And for us, it's going to be P6, so we're going to lose some ground in the championship. But yeah, and Norris actually retired from the Grand Prix, so maybe that front wing damage was the last nail on the coffin to you know, to the Brit. But in the standings, we are still in the lead. I forgot to show you the lead. I was showing just the last ones in the Constructors Championship. We scored on the last episode in the you know, the Russian Grand Prix, and Toro Rosso climbing up the field, and they are really close to Racing Point. And maybe these two teams can overtake Mercedes because they've been lacking a lot in terms of pace. But guys, that has been episode 39 of my F1 2019 career mode, the final episodes of season 2 before F1 2020 comes into the market and into my channel. And for the next episode, I believe that is the Mexico Grand Prix, and we're going to buy a minor upgrade for the chassis, because I think we need to get closer to Racing Point. So it was a very positive day for Honda. The championship constructors is secured, and yeah, it was a very good race for Verstappen, and he is with a very good momentum with 2 wins in the last 2 races. So maybe things can get really closer. Maybe if we get to Abu Dhabi, we'll see. We have 4 rounds to go, but for me is everything, and I'll see you guys for brand video next time. But for now, it's goodbye.